Good morning and welcome to Vlogtober Day 8. We are at a very high point on top of a mountain because we have just hiked about 2.6 kilometers up a lot of steep trails. Just got my breath back in time to record this little bit and show you a bit of the view because it's lovely. We were just up there and now we are scrambling our way down again. There's some gravelly bits and we're having to do our best not to end up on our butts. There's lots of evidence of wildfire in the trees around here. I think one came through here maybe 3 years ago. So a lot of the trees have blackened trunks. In the case of the ponderosa pine, they do actually need the intense heat of a forest fire in order to have their seeds pop to make new trees. I love the shapes that the fallen trees make as they weather. Well, I thought while my cookies are baking that I'd have a little chat with you. We had a pretty slow start to the day. My husband did a little bit of work on his computer downstairs and I just hung around on the couch and read my library book. We did go out for a really good walk at 11 o'clock. We went on a trail we've been on before, but this time we went for the really steep part of it. So it zigzags up the mountain for quite a long way. I did do a little bit of filming, which you'll have seen at the beginning, but you might not have heard me very well because, of course, I didn't have the mic on and I was out in nature. But we did, I think, over 5 kilometers. We were hiking for about an hour and a half. And it was hard going. It was a hard slog up the hill. And then coming down, of course, is kind of gravelly and slippery, and you had to make sure you didn't fall down. Did see a cool little snake. I'm hoping I got a bit of footage of the snake. You'll have already seen that if I did. It was right in the middle of the path, so we were lucky to see it because normally they'll zip away before you even get a chance to see them. And of course, when I got back, I was ready for lunch, and then I just lounged on the couch again with my library book. It's a good book, and I finished it already. It only took me a couple of days to read. And it's been a bit of an indulgent weekend, and so I'm continuing that theme by making chocolate chip cookies. I'm sure the family won't complain. So they're baking right now. So while I've got the chance, I'm just going to show you where the recipe's from. This is the book I'm taking it out of. And it is this one. I don't know if you can see that. I'll pop it in the description underneath the video. So this book, The Garden of Vegan by Tanya Barnard and Sarah Kramer, was the sequel to this one here, how it all began. And we have had these books for a long, long time. In fact, these books here are the new anniversary editions of the ones we used to have, because the old ones were falling apart. And when I did a big blitz of my cookery book cupboard a few months ago, I decided that these were such good basic cookbooks with so many good ideas in them that I would just replace the old falling apart versions with new ones. So that's what I did. So another couple of books I really like are these. These guys are both on YouTube. So Vegan 100 is by Gaz Oakley, and his channel is Gaz Oakley, and he has some amazing recipes. He lives in Wales. He is Welsh. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. And the other one is Vegan Comfort Classics. And that is by Lauren Toyota. And her website is Hot for Food. And her YouTube channel is Hot for Food. So if ever you're interested in getting new recipes, they're a good place to start. I had an absolute shock when I checked the publishing date. The original publication date of this book, 1999. So if these girls were in their 20s back in 1999, which I'm assuming they were, they've got to be around 50 now. I was gobsmacked to do the math and work that out, because time has flown by. There's another one by Sarah Kramer called La Dolce Vegan as well. I did borrow it from the library once, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first two, so I didn't buy that one. So once my cookies are done, I'll pop them on a cooling rack, and then I'll figure out what crafty stuff I'm going to use to occupy my time for the rest of the day. So I'll talk to you again later. All done. I broke them a little as I got them off the baking sheet. I was probably too quick and I should have waited for them to cool down a little bit. I decided I was going to make another of those cell phone zipper pouches, and I have this really pretty fabric. Let's see if you can see that right. Oh yeah. So it is French themed. It has the Eiffel Tower on it, French girl riding bike, French girl having coffee with poodle, ooh la la. And that border print goes along both edges. So as you can see, I've already started hacking out the bits I wanted for my bag. And the lining is also perfect for it because it has French writing on it and it's pink. So here we are. I have cut my outer. So the plan is, when this is folded in half, this will be on the side that shows. This is going to be covered by the pocket. That's the plan. This is my lining for my main zipper pouch part. This is the front pocket. So I did make sure she wasn't going to get a magnetic snap right in the middle of her face, but the flap might cover her face. I'm not sure yet. And I'm using some of the less patterned part of the same fabric for the lining for the inside pocket. This is the flap. It's going to be the ooh la la. It's going to be curved once I've cut that out. And then when you open the flap, I'm going to hopefully remember to put it so that when you open the flap, you see the cat and the flowers the correct way up. I've done my little piece for my D-ring tab and my little piece for my wristlet. I have my zipper foot ready. I have my clasp and D-ring handy. Ooh. And I have my lovely pink thread already loaded onto the machine, and the bobbin is filled. Magnetic clasps. Okay. Now, my plan is that I'm going to make this without referring to the video. So I did go through the video again earlier and just made a very short summary of the order of work. So, cross fingers. We don't mess up. Had the most intense thunderstorm earlier. I knew that there was rain in the forecast, but it said light rain. Ah, light rain, they said. We had a monsoon, but it was fairly brief. I think it's stopped now, or at least slowed down. I did try and get some footage of it. I hope you can hear it on the video. And shortly after, I did a little bit of filming of it. We had some good lightning and thunder. I do love it when a project has 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch seam allowances, because that's basically the size of my foot from the needle to the right hand edge. Very convenient. Now all I have to remember to do is to lengthen my stitch for top stitching and shorten it again afterwards. I'm just going to move my needle to the right as well, so my top stitching's a little closer to the edge. There you go. I forgot to do my long stitch for my top stitching. Still looks okay, except the edge is slightly wavy. Oh well, the plan is to make this for me. It's not the end of the world if I mess it up. I'm putting that pin in to remind me not to sew that bit there. And what I've done is I've taken the thermolam inside the seam allowance on the second 2 I've made, because the first one, when this goes into the zipper, it's really bulky. So I've kept the thermolam out of the seam on this one again. It works better that way. Now let me see, that has to go when I open the flap, I want to see it up the right way, that way. Okay. That way, that way. So one of the little extras I've been putting in this little pouch is an extra little piece of thermolam. And I know I had a little bit put aside. I'll use one of these. The reason for that is that when you put the magnet in here, it's only on one thin layer of cotton, and I do not want it ripping out of this when you're pulling on it. So each time I put some of that in there, I put a little bit of extra interfacing behind it. In fact, I think I'll actually iron it in there ahead of time this time. The last couple of times I've been fumbling it like crazy, so how about I do it properly this time? Of course, if I thought of it before I actually sewed everything together, it would have been a lot easier. So let's see, it's going in 1.5 inches down. Of course, this is a friction pen, so as soon as I iron my interfacing on, those lines are going to disappear. But that's okay. I'll just put them back after I've fused this in place. I'm going to tuck that in there and go iron it. I have a fruit fly in here. What's it with fruit flies? I was watching Ali's vlog earlier, hang on, not Little Drops of Wonderful, it's her other one, This Little Wonderful Life. And she talked about being invaded with fruit flies. It's the bananas, I tell you, Ali, it's the bananas. Anyway, I seem to have one, at least one, that likes to live in my house all winter. And I know fruit flies have a very short lifespan, so maybe it's just multiple generations of them. I love these things. They are Pilot friction pens. Hope you can see that. I buy packs of multiple colors. You're not supposed to, in theory, use them for fabric, but they work so well as fabric markers because they iron off. They're heat erasable pens, so they're fantastic for paper too. I use them in all my notebooks. But on fabric, you can iron them off. Now, there is a chance that they might come back with cold. Like if you take this thing out in -10-degree weather and you put the lines on something that shows, you might notice them reappear. But I tend not to do that. Usually I only use them on areas where it's going to be hidden. This is why I like to have this interfacing in here, because these little prongs are metal, and over time they could work their way through the fabric and make a tear in it. Now I'm don't have to spend too long on that part because I'm just basting it on. Same with the D-ring, I just basted it on because this is going to be a seam later on. Getting there. It's a good idea to make one of these with non-directional fabric the first time, because then you get to figure out where everything goes. Once you've made one, you can figure out which edge is your zipper and do the thermal M shorter, and you can figure out any one-way fabric. Okay, now this is the nerve-wracking part. I know that with a lot of the basic zippers that I buy, I can separate it, take the puller off, and then put the puller back on, but I've not done it with this stuff. I bought this from wawak, wawak.ca if you're in Canada, .com if you're in the States. And I bought this, and it has 5 yards of zipper, 5.5 yards of zipper tape and 12 pulls on it when it's new. I don't think I've used it more than once in the years I've got it. But I'm hoping that it works okay for this project, and I'm going to make it a bit longer the instructions say to use an 18-inch zipper, and that's just barely long enough. So I would say get a 20-inch zipper and have bits sticking out each end, because on that last one I made with that lovely orange Halloween fabric, I was having a heck of a time getting the puller back on, and it was starting to fray on the end and get damaged, and I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to regret this. All right, now I'm going to need a zipper foot. I'm going to make myself a note to leave the thermalam out of this seam allowance on the edge of the pocket as well, because it is really bulky there. Yeah, it's not bad, but yeah, there's a few extra short stitches where it got a little hung up in the middle there. So it would definitely be a good idea to leave the thermalam out of the seam allowance on that side of the pocket piece. Now for the fun part. Yeah, the way I did this earlier was I weighed it down with this nice big heavy jar full of bag hardware. And it's a good idea to snip a little of the zipper away on this side. Turn your face away if you can't stand seeing people using fabric scissors for such things. Okay. Slide the wide part of the zipper down onto the left side. Oh, so far so good. And then that right bit goes in. And then you just got to kind of grab both bits and slide. Cross fingers. Ooh. Yeah. See how that didn't line up? But that's okay. At least I know I can do it. But I just have to line it up better. Woohoo! That looks good. Love it. So the magnet is going to be not over her face, but the flap will be, which will look kind of weird. Looks like she's got a tree for a face. Oh well. Can't win them all. Very satisfying when these little things work well. Putting in bag hardware and that sort of thing. Oh, we're coming down to the final stretch on this now. Make sure this is half open for when I turn it out. General consensus is that you push your zipper towards the lining. Okay, walking foot back on. And what I like to do when I'm sewing a bag and I'm doing around the outer and the lining is I like to make the seam allowance on the lining a teeny bit bigger, because that way it sits inside the outer better. It's less messy. This is my favorite part of making a bag, because you're finally turning everything right side out and you're hiding all the messy bits on the inside, all the raw edges, any slightly less than perfect parts all get hidden right inside. And normally everything looks good once you've done this. At least you hope it will. Looking all creased again. I'll have to iron it again. Nearly there. As usual, I am covered in threads. Okay, and now for the final reveal. Okay, all done. Oh, I see a thread. There's the pretty pink lining. Good, the writing is the correct way up. The grey zipper worked out. Black probably would have looked nicer, but I didn't have one that was long enough. The wristlet's great. The flap is good. Needs a bit of more ironing, I think, but it's worked out good for positioning. This worked out well for positioning, except for the fact that her face is covered up when the flap's closed. And this part, worked out beautifully. So I managed to incorporate all my favorite parts of the print into that. Fantastic. I'm just going to check and see how long that took me. That took me an hour. And again, we're coming to the end of another day, another October day, which started out dry and fairly sunny and ended up with a thunderstorm. We need the rain. We always need the rain. Funny coming from Britain, where you always used to complain about the rain because there was too much of it. And here in British Columbia, there isn't enough of it. So that's 3 of these cell phone zipper pouches in 3 days. That's not bad going. I don't know which is my favorite, but I like them all. I haven't touched a crochet hook or a pair of knitting needles at all today, but I did read a book and I did go for a hike and I made cookies. I didn't just eat chocolate chip cookies for dinner, promise. I had a smoothie, lots of fruit and spinach in first, and then I had a cookie. So that kind of made up for it, right? All right, so that's the end of day 9. Again, thanks for being here. and sharing my day with me. I hope your day was fabulous, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.